All right, good morning, guys. So this week we're going to be talking about the surface area and volume of cylinders. So we're going to start with surface area. Now remember that we already talked about how surface area could be considered the amount of wrapping paper or construction paper that you would need to exactly cover an object. So if we're taking a look at the cylinder picture that I've shown here on the screen, we know that a cylinder can be broken down into two circles and a rectangle in the middle. And when we're looking at finding surface area, we want to find the area of each of these pieces, and then we want to add them together. So when we're given a surface area of a cylinder, you're typically only going to be given a radius and what's called our height, which would be this dimension here. So you're typically given these two variables, and we're going to need to figure out how to find the surface area of each of these with just those two variables. So let's take a look at our circles first. We know that the area of a circle is pi r squared. So when we're looking at the area of two circles, this first portion of our formula is going to be very, very simple. When we're looking at the area of two circles, we would just say, well, now we've got 2 pi r squared, because we know that this top and bottom of the cylinder are going to be the same size. So our first part of our formula is going to be 2 pi r squared. Now this next part gets a little bit trickier when we're trying to find the dimensions of this rectangle. Now notice that this rectangle is in the middle of our circle, or in the middle of our two circles. So when we're trying to find this upper dimension, when we're looking for this here, we can use the dimensions from our circles to help us. Notice that when you look at this picture, you can see pretty clearly that our rectangle, the top dimension is actually going to be the same as what we've learned is the circumference of the circle. So that top dimension of our rectangle is just equal to the circumference. So now we need to figure out, well, how can we figure out the circumference? How can we decide what the circumference is? Remember that we know that the formula for circumference is 2 pi r, or diameter times pi. So in this case, if we only have r, we're going to need to look at what 2 pi r is. So we know that this is now 2 pi r, because that is the same thing as the circumference of the circle. And when we're looking at the area of a rectangle, we know that the area of a rectangle would be our length times our width. So when we look at the area of a rectangle here, we're going to say, well, I know that my length is 2 pi r times my width, which is h. Now when we look at putting the entire formula together, remember we said that we wanted to find the area of the circles and the rectangle and simply add those up. So we've found those two pieces and parts. Our formula for the surface area of a cylinder is going to be 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r times h. Remember that this is the formula for the two circles, and this is a formula for the rectangle in the middle. So this is going to be the formula that we will use for the surface area of a